e te tipua, mai e te tawhito, e haere mai a koe i a whakahotunoku, i a whakahoturaki. Ko tau maro ko tōku mana. Tūturu mau ki a whakamau a kātina, au mi e hui e mihi atu, kia koe te kai whakahaere. Ka hoki nā mo maharatia, mō tō rangatira, o kai tahu kā te mamoi, waitaha no Kāti Kuri. E haere atu rā, e rangi tānei Will Norton, o tānei Norton, o te rakatira, o te whitipaure, no tō Ngāti Kuri kai kaura, no reira e tānei, e haere atu rā ki te pāta whakawairua, e takoto. Takoto i rangi māre i rungi tō waka, hoi atu tō waka ko tō tārai haere atu rā. E no reira, e mihi atu, apiti ono tātai hono rātou ki tō honga mate ki a rātou, apiti ono tātai hono tātou ki tō honga ora ki a tātou. No reira, e mihi atu kia koutou katoa. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of the All Black great, All Black captain, also former president of the New Zealand Rugby Union, Tānei Norton. Kia
ora e ngā whakapapa from Methven, Tānei, and he also played rugby for Temuka. And can I just finish with this? And was recognised by Linwood and picked up by Linwood. But he was banker. He was a banker, wasn't he? ANZ banker, I think. Got to be savings bank. Sorry. Anyway, thank you, Nook, for doing that. That's so we just needed to squeeze Shirley Boys in there, didn't we? Yeah. Anyway, let's get going with this. And can I just say, welcome to you, Peter Sunbeam down there, member of the public. Peter came along with the opportunity that he made want to interact with it. That isn't an opportunity for you today, Peter, but I think the process that we will put in front of you for deputations opportunity in the future. And I also think that you're going to come to the RTC meeting on the 24th. We'll talk to you about that. And if you want to talk to us, more than happy. Just no space here today to do that. So our apologies to you, but we will follow up with you to see where you fit in the process with us going forward. We have two apologies, one from Councillor Ian McKenzie, who's out of the country at this moment, and one from Councillor East, who's an apology at a Loaitiki business, council business. I'm not aware of any conflict. Are there any other, there's no other apologies, are there? I think the rest of us are here. I have not been made aware of any conflicts of interest. There's, as I say, no public deputation of petitions, no extraordinary business, and no notices of motion. I should have mentioned that Councillor Diche is a standing apology at this point also. So if we excuse me, move to 7.1, which is the unconfirmed minutes of the meeting on the 14th of June 2023. If there are any corrections or wording that needs to be amended, could you please let me know about that now? Yeah, and just to inform you that a second item's been put up there regarding the public excluded minutes, that we can confirm them at this time as part of this process, and that would mean that there's no need then to go into public excluded just to do that. Everyone's happy with that. Moved by Claire and seconded by Greg. Moved by Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Burns. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, and that is carried. Thank you very much. If we can move to 8.1, Transport, Urban Development, Air Quality Committee's resolution status report, and Catherine's here to talk to that if required. Catherine?
Just any questions or clarification if you need any.
It's on page 15 of your agenda. Anybody have an issue with anything in there?
Yeah, just correct which the GPS that's in progress, that we're still waiting, are we? Yeah, so no progress as yet, we're still waiting.
GPS wherever hopeful. The government policy statement on transport. All right. If everyone's happy with that, can I have a mover, please, for that? Oh yes, and again, the second notes the status of the public excluded resolutions, which there's no need to go and do that if you haven't got a problem with that. So have a mover for that, please. Thank you, Councillor Southwest, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against that. There's no one against, that's carried. Okay, 8.2 portfolio work program update. So that I think we've got 3 parts to this. Is Brian here? Oh, Brian's online. Do you want to start, Jess? So call Jess Burgess to the table. Go to page 19 for this. And Stuart, sorry.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Through Mr. Chair, the purpose of this paper is to provide the committee with an update on the programs within this portfolio. Take the paper as read and note the recent achievements covering both the air quality program, public transport program, and the integrating land use and urban land use and transport programs on pages 20 and 21 of your papers, 20 through to page 22, sorry. I'm happy to take any questions really on this. I have the appendices as well with the levels of service and the targets that have been met or not met. So happy to take any questions.
I've got a few, but I think they're all easy and very short responses. My first question on the safer speeds part, and I don't have paragraph numbering, but at the bottom of page 21, there's a series of bullet points. So could you explain to me what safe speeds that support land use changes as growth occurs means? I understand. What's that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So yeah, in terms of the regional speed management planning work, so this is the work that the road controlling authorities are undertaking at the moment and consulting their communities on. So as land use changes occur within each of the district areas, so it could be things like changes of land use zoning to a school, for instance. So as land use changes occur, there'll be a need will arise to review speed limits in certain areas, and so potentially as well with rural roads becoming urban land use as well. So that's the nature of that aspect. So
it would be what's having a process or a way of making that happen sort of swiftly in a timely way. Is that essentially where that we'll get to?
Regional Council needs to bring together all of the speed management plans. That's the process that we're currently underway with. And the policies that have been agreed through the RTC is the policies that guide the regional speed management plans for each of the districts. So they consult on those, they go through that process, we bring it together, and there's a time frame for us to work through those, pulling that all together through till about March next year, I believe it is.
Thank you. Then my next question is around the under-13s concession. So it said that we were looking to accommodate that in August. Is that still going to be the case? Because we are in August now, aren't we?
Got a few years, yeah. So yes, we're expecting to introduce the under-13 free on 14th of August, so next Monday. And so comms on that are progressively going out this week.
Getting into the tables of levels of service. Just wondering, so there's some information about community vehicle trusts. So Timatanga and Hanma Springs have been enabled. Just wondering, do we have any other localities that have asked for that we're working with right now? Is there anything else in progress on those?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I guess a follow-up question then is, how do we enable, but make people aware that that's the thing? Like there's particular types of communities that perhaps would be most likely to have a community vehicle as being of benefit to them. So do we communicate through community boards or something? How do we let people know there's even a thing?
So it's not something that we would, using the term, actively market to Canterbury. It's communicated through our regional public transport plan. It's communicated through our website. It's communicated through word of mouth, because the communities are quite connected in that rural space. And as you know, it requires the intent of the community and the desire of the community to want to stand up and manage their own trust in the first place. So it's not a small task for a community to do that. But to answer your question directly, we don't specifically market that option.
Just real quick, the regional public transport plan. So we've got that we'll be going out and seeking stakeholder and community feedback. And it just at the moment, it just looks like 23-24. And just wondering if we've got an indication of more accurately, like when that might be.
So the first step is to engage with the Greater Christchurch Partnership Committee, because they have the delegated authority to manage the development of that. So that's planned for September. Once they have been engaged and been through the first draft of the RPTP, then we will develop the timeline for community engagement. The Greater Christchurch Partnership may want to iterate more the document before it's ready for consultation. So not really in a position to give a date as yet.
Great. And then just finally, confirmation, the routes 17 and 28, they're still on target for September. We can tell community people interested.
Yes, so we've already been promoting that change coming, I think it's September 4th that it's happening. Yeah, so that's on target as well.
Councillor Edge, and then Councillor Swiggs.
Thanks, Chair. I've just got two questions. One of them relates to page 20 and 21. The bottom bullet in page 20 related to the targeted rates funded subsidies. I'm wondering if you could give a brief explanation, knowing that our Healthier Homes system is no longer there, what the subsidy scheme is going to do, and in terms of the targeted rates and reserves support.
Through you, Mr. Chair, could Paul Hopwood's online? I was just wondering if he might be able to respond to that question. Sorry, Paul's away from work today, sick unfortunately, but has joined the meeting.
Yeah, kia ora, councillors. Hopefully you can hear me okay. The targeted rates scheme, it's a targeted scheme within our clean air zones across Canterbury. So we hold reserves which are used for an air quality improvement benefit. So that's targeted for low-income households. So it's available for community services card holders, and we can support people to replace an older wood burner with a compliant wood burner, an ultra-low emission wood burner, or a heat pump. So that's been administered through 2 suppliers now. So we've got Energy Smart in South Canterbury and Brighter in North Canterbury. So yeah, it's different to the Healthy Homes Canterbury scheme, which was a rates advance scheme, which is available to anybody. This is specifically for low income households.
Thanks very much for that. My second question's related to page 30, where there's a mention of a chart there on the winter air quality program update. I just saw in the paper yesterday public notice referring to a breach of the air quality standards in Christchurch, Rangiora and Kaiapoi. I'm just wondering what's the next steps for that, or is it simply a notification?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and Paul might want to add to this as well, but we're required to put a notice in the paper of the breach. So we monitor the air quality standards across, and in terms of there are a number of exceedances across different airsheds each winter, but this winter we are actually having quite a good winter in that respect. So given the climatic conditions and weather conditions that we've had over the last couple of months. So part of that is, I guess, in terms of our program, as Paul just mentioned, in terms of swapping out the burners across the region in those airsheds to reduce the number of exceedances that we may have. And that's part of the work that we're doing as well through the impact framework and long-term plan development to look at the air quality program and what that might in the future look like. And we also have a number of burners across the region that will be expiring in the next few years. So there is an active work program in terms of how we further address air quality across the region. So we will continue to see some exceedances in different air sheds as we go along, and that's allowable, but it's the further work that we're doing to progress the swap out of those burners, not just for low-income households, but putting other households as well in contact with other agencies that are able to provide any support as well, particularly the Energy Conservation Authority as well.
Notable, Paul, and maybe you want to comment. They've got the 2.5 numbers there too, and as the NESAC changes, then we head into another game, don't we? About what's allowable and what's not allowable. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. You can see we're obliged to report on the PM10 exceedances, but under the Canterbury Air Regional Plan, we also have targets there for PM2.5. So yeah, we're waiting to see what the MFE will do to update the national standards and potentially to incorporate that PM2.5. But yeah, there are quite high numbers of exceedances in some of our towns, particularly Timaru and Kaiapoi. And again, it looks as though home heating's the main contributor to those PM2.5 exceedances. So for the future, yeah, we're going to need to look at how we address that and how we can reduce those air quality exceedances. So there's the education around better burning is part of that, and also just our planning approach to phase out older burners and replace them. But we certainly want to look at how we can support that air quality improvement over time.
Just curious, I just wanted to add to that. On the National Environmental Standard on Air Quality NESAC, part of that will need to be considered through the resource management reforms and the development of the national planning framework, the Natural and Built Environment Plans. So that's work that will be considered. Whether they choose to adopt those more stringent standards or not, that's something that we'll need to work through with MFE.
Question from me regarding that point that you just made about the national planning standards. So will they become more of a generic standard for the country rather than more of a specific regional target?
To go testing my knowledge here a little bit, but just in terms of the resource management reforms, bringing through the national planning framework, bringing all the national policy statements, and national environmental standards together. So we would need to have a look at where that lands in terms of what's been brought through, and I would imagine there'll be a consultative process at some point. And how does the NESAC changes fit within that?
And can I don't want to be too flunky around this, but can somebody give me a piece of advice after this meeting, so not now, about how that all fits together? And I'm looking at you, Claire, sitting down the back there, because the regional policy statement there pushes us towards our plan, but the national planning framework, does it override it? That's the sort of thing they want to know. Okay, thank you. So Dion.
Excuse me. One thing, it's encouraging to see that the patronage numbers on the buses are at 101% of pre-COVID levels, which is excellent. And I suppose that the $2 trips will help with that. But in the dashboard, can we now look at changing our baseline? I don't think it's very helpful to be baselining off pre-COVID levels. So maybe we need to be baselining off something else, maybe something like pre-hub and spoke or something along those lines, and actually start lifting our game even more, be a bit more aspirational.
So yeah, we can baseline against anything really. I guess the question of which baseline to use will be around relativity. So, for example, if we baseline based on the pre-earthquake network, well, it was quite a different network then. So you're not comparing apples with apples. So, yeah, but as I say, we can baseline against anything council chooses to ask us to baseline against.
Could I suggest also that might be a conversation to have as part of the impact framework and LTP development?
Could we please get a copy of the decision that this council took around the delegation of the RPTP review to the Greater Christchurch Partnership? Thank you.
Okay, can I just clarify what you just asked then, Joe? That
Might have been a previous council or before the new councillors were here. This council delegated the development of, or the Petition Futures, as well as the review of the RPTP to the Greater Christchurch Partnership. And I think that report would probably be really good information for us who are new, trying to get our head around the process and how it's going to go forward.
Yes, so certainly we can dig that out. Just some bit of context. That decision was made some years ago when council had commissioners. There's a particular report called the Window Report, which evaluated a number of options around how public transport might be governed in Greater Christchurch as a whole. And so a number of different scenarios and options were investigated from a legislative point of view. And the best option that was considered and recommended by Peter Winder at the time was to create a Greater Christchurch Public Transport Joint Committee. And the delegation was made to that committee. And then a few years ago, that committee wound up once we had landed the original public transport plan that's currently in force and the business case for PT Futures. And it was incorporated into the Greater Christchurch Partnership. But we can find that paper and circulate.
Supplementary. Was there a subsequent decision once that committee wound up?
Yes, there was. Yes.
Could I say, because the Greater Christchurch Partnership was taking the strategic direction for land use and transport, and including public transport, which is all the work we've been doing on the spatial plan and mass rapid transit PT Futures. So having that strategic conversation about public transport and how that sits within the regional public transport plan, that's prominently our PT services is in Greater Christchurch.
Yeah, and so it's probably worth just clarifying the delegation is for the development of the Greater Christchurch component of the regional public transport plan, but Environment Canterbury still holds the decision rights to adopt.
And I guess one of the background features there, Joe, for your information, was the fact that there was a desire within the city at one stage to have that opportunity to do both the delivery and infrastructure. Legislation didn't exist that allowed that, and I think we went to get a change on that, but this PTOM change model thing was coming along, so it didn't seem. So we're still waiting to be able to have that base information about service delivery and infrastructure, which hopefully we can have in the next wee while. Right. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Oh, sorry, Craig, go.
Kia ora. Just on page 27, I noticed the Route 7 update there. Can I just have some clarity on, so at the moment we're working on sort of, I can see their frequency and the network stuff, I'm assuming with City Council, but are we actually looking at review of like additions to that network? Or? And how's the engagement with the community on that?
Through your chair, so as council is aware, council has approved a particular delivery timeline for PD Futures, which included Route 7 happening in the next fiscal year. And that approval accommodated a particular type of service uplift, which was basically frequency uplift on that existing route. So what the staff are doing at the moment is evaluating the costs of that frequency uplift, but at the same time, taking some consideration of how we might give the maximum effect to that frequency uplift. And we will be coming back to council, I believe in September, for support and decisions on how we will proceed with that service uplift. And then that decision will influence how we inform or engage with the community.
Okay, Paul, is there anything else that you would like to talk about under the air quality portfolio?
No, thank you, Chair. I think we've covered everything I wanted to discuss there today. Thank you. We'll report back to the next committee meeting with a winter update, so a summary of our winter programme, and yeah, and give you more information about our compliance and engagement approach for the coming spring. So that'll be in October.
Thank you, Paul. Jess, you happy enough with what you've said? Stuart? Okay. All right, thank you. We can push back now from that, you guys, and we can put the resolution up on the board that the Transport, Urban Development and Air Quality Committee receives the work program report for quarter four for air quality transport, urban development portfolio. Someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Davies. Thank you, Councillor Ward. Any discussion on this? Councillor Edge.
I just wanted to refer to, thanks so much for the report. I just wanted to refer to page 29, the delivery dashboard, and just comment on a couple of things. I note the improvement to the fare box recovery for the June quarter, which is about 30%, which is up from expectations. Also, there's a substantial drop in incidents on buses related to safety, down from 262 last year to 116 this year. That's really good news. And also just commenting on the summary where the PT reserve forecast is healthy due to reduced costs from missed trips. And so that's good in terms of our fare revenue issue. And also just to remark that the Timaru My Way patronage continues to be very positive, and there is almost 230,000 trips, which is pretty outstanding, and just a further recognition of the good work that this council did in terms of getting that service underway, and the level of satisfaction across the district at 95% across Canterbury in terms of the public transport, and in My Way a reading of 4.7 out of 5 is pretty outstanding as well.
No, it's well done. I think we'll note that if we can in this part of the agenda, and this part of the minutes, and I think that those things are significant. I think the patronage stuff here is significant, and long may it continue to rise. I think I'm really astounded by My Way in terms of where it's got to since 2015-16, when we were looking down the barrel of about 170,000 rides, or even less than that probably, and just keep going downhill, and now it's on the upswing. And I mean, I'll still make the point that we need to have a serious conversation about Whakamutunga to take the trainer wheels off this, Jeremy. I see you sitting down there. This is Mr. My Way down the back there. But that is still under trial, and we need to note that we need to do something about that. I would love to be able to do something about that before October, but I'm not sure if we can. But I think we should note that with Whakamutunga. Any other comments, Nick?
I think it's also worth noting that there has been some days in Timaru where there's been over 1,000 or 1,100 passengers for the day during the week. So let's hope it just keeps growing.
And I just really want to say, I really love sitting or reading these reports at the moment. It feels like we've sort of managed to get over a really difficult time, and now we're just away. And there's plenty in the pipeline that if we can just keep on pressing, improving that frequency and all the rest of it, that, you know, we're on the way to having a really good public transport system that people can really engage with, and we're seeing that there's that demand, and it's just meeting the needs and expectations so that we can keep on building. It's fantastic. So thank you so much.
Must say it's nice to see you smiling in a public transport meeting. Councillor Southworth, it hasn't always been this way, has it? And we've squabbled and scrapped about getting us here, but I mean, recognition of this also should go to Stuart and the team of people that he has under his wing as the general manager for this area. Stuart, well done. I mean, you know, we got the stage where we were shaking around this, but anyway, let's move on. We'll note that, please. And the motion is there in front of us, moved by Councillor Davies, seconded by Councillor Wood. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, that's carried. We're going to have a pretty quick meeting, actually, I would think. My report has been surpassed by the last one. I was going to talk about the fare transition. I was going to talk about new metro fares launch, and I think that you know, the empirical evidence there suggests that that's a good thing and it's working really well. And I think that we're getting good uptake there. The second thing I was going to talk was about patronage. I've just talked about that. I don't need to talk about that anymore unless someone else wants to. And the other thing is the draft government policy statement on land transport about that delay. Now we are hopeful that that's imminent. We're running out of sitting days, I guess, to get that through, and we don't know where it sits. The House is in has a week off this week, and so busy time this last 3 weeks, I guess, or 2 weeks, whatever it is, to get these things done, and hopefully we can get that out the other side. So with that, I'll just put that recommendation up because I don't think there's any more, unless anyone else has got something to say about this. I think we're, yes, great.
I'm just am I able to do a little update about the dust work we've been doing, or is this the right place to do it? Dion and I met with staff recently along with Mark Peters, City Councillor for Hornby, and had a good update on where some of the work we've been doing around dust is, especially in that sort of area, Yoldhurst, Hornby area. And where we're at the moment is we've got a report or literature review looking at mitigation options, sort of looking at around the world best practice around mitigation for dust mitigation. So that's cool, and that's about to start. And we're looking at mid-October for that report to come back. So look out for that. And also we've continued, our staff and continue to do work on monitoring, and we've tested a bunch of sort of handheld and monitors that can go out into the field. The work we've done on that has come back actually, and those monitors that we looked at aren't actually doing the job. So we're doing a little bit more work on that, and they're going to sit and be tested at the cost of the monitoring supplier actually, to see if we can get them to a better standard, so that hopefully we can get that going. But in the meantime, we've got, because of this funding that we gave this project, there's more staff in the field that are doing proactive compliance out in that area. So just want to let you know about that. And lastly is that we're continuing work to advocate to Whatu Ora around bringing them back into the fold to help us with this work, especially around best practice, and also looking to do a further update into those issues around the health issues, and that came out of our community workshops we had a couple of years ago. So give that update. Got it.
Good, that's good, Craig. I just think we probably should have a space to put things like that in this chair's report, because I think that's a really good update. It's an issue, I guess, that as it dries out, it's going to become more and more significant again. Doesn't seem to ever go away. And that, you know, the attitude that we have in terms of trying to get more information about this is positive. So, and thank you for Dion and yourself for doing the work you do in that area, which is pretty helpful. So there we have that. Receive the chair's report of air quality, transport, movement development portfolio. Someone please move that. Thank you, Dion. Seconded by Craig. Thank you, Craig. And there's no further discussion on that. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against. That's carried. there's no need to go into public excluded because we've already done that piece of business. And I would just say that the next meeting is on the 11th of October 2023, Peter. So if you note that and you want to, Peter Sunbeam, if you want to note that 11th of October is our next meeting and you wanted to turn up to say something and make a deputation, then these people here will help you with that. Yeah, and the 24th. Yep, that's good. All right. Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the business of this meeting. I'm not too sure whether we need to Karakia out of this, do we, Nook, or we do that at the end of the day? End of the day. All right. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.